Today, I will be doing a full walkthrough and tutorial on how I like to create my quality Roblox thumbnails. And as always, I'll be leaving timestamps down below if you want to hop to something very specific in the process. The first thing we're going to be doing is essentially downloading the required software. There are 3 things you're going to need to download. They are all free, and I'm going to show you how to set up a nice folder to have all of these files organized as well as future renders you're going to make. The first thing we're going to want to go and download is basically the Roblox starter rigs, and this is how we're going to basically import your Roblox avatar into Blender, which we're going to be using Blender 4.0 or newer. Feel free to put in 0 for the fair price, or if you want to donate to the creator Softy, feel free to go and support them. It's a free software you're able to go and use. Then you want to go and click I want this. It's going to bring you to this page, and basically you're going to put in your email address and it will email you the download link for it. Go ahead, download it, or maybe you want to give it to your friend as a gift, you're able to do that. Next up, you want to go and click the Blender link down below in the description, and we're going to be installing Blender 4.0, and you just want to go click download Blender 4.0. I've already downloaded it, so I don't have a need to, but feel free to go download it, install it onto your device, and you should be able to go and have it. Last but not least is a free version of Photoshop. Essentially, it looks exactly like it, functions just like it, but it's a free version. If you want to go and actually download Photopea to your actual device instead of just having it in a Chrome tab, all you have to do is click on More, go down to install Photopea. Of course, I can since I already have it installed, and that is all there is to it. It's really simple. Now, for creating an entire folder setup, you want to right click on your desktop, go to New, click on Folder, and basically type in, title it whatever you want. I'm going to call it Roblox Blender. Open that up, and we're going to create a few folder names here. Now, the first one we're going to create is going to be titled Roblox Avatar. This is basically going to be for every asset that your Roblox avatar has, including the textures and the hats. The next one we're going to do is called Render. So whatever you render from your avatar, you can just go and set it right into this folder. Next, we're going to make a little bit of a extras folder just in case you want to go and do renders of other people. You have a separate folder specifically for that. And if you want to go into it, let's say you have a buddy named, Joe. This could be like Joe's avatar or something like that. Then bam, you have extras in it. You could go into it and you have access to all of his files and stuff. But it's basically just to make things nice and organized. Then last but not least, you're going to take the Roblox rigs download, and you're also going to drop it in right here, which should create a separate folder as well. And for an example, this is basically what my folder looks like. I have my Cyrus outfit, I got extras, renders, then my Roblox starter rigs, which if you open it up, you'll go to rigs, and you have every single rig possible right here that you could go and open up instantly. Next up, I'm going to be showing you how to actually export your Roblox avatar so that you can go and import it into Blender. Now make sure you have the avatar you want equipped. This is my avatar, and I will also be showing you how to basically create a headless avatar, so stay tuned for that. So basically you want to go and head on over to Roblox Studio, and you can go and click on one of the simple base plates and open that up real quick. Should be really fast and simple. So once you find a little bit of game inside of Roblox Studio, you can delete the spawn plate. We don't really need it. But if you want to go to the top, click on plugins, and I'm going to be using the load character plugin from Already Pros. If you guys don't know how to get this, basically you're going to go to the Roblox homepage, click on create, then you want to go and click on store, and from store you want to go and click on plugins. Now the plugin I'm going to be using is going to basically be load character. So if you want to look up load character, it should be the free one right here. So you go click on that bad boy, then basically go and click try in studio in the top right. Then once you open it up again, it should hopefully have the load character. Click on load character, and basically you want to go and type in your Roblox username, and make sure you have the spawn at origin checked, and you also want to spawn it at R6. So you go click that, and your character should spawn at the very center and maybe halfway in the ground, so you can just click and drag just to get him up top, just so the hats are a little bit closer to where the head should actually be. So the first thing you want to do is make sure your actual character is selected, go over to the right, and you should see your Roblox username, click on the down arrow, and what you want to do is basically click on every single accessory. So that'd be like a bear hoodie, then you want to hold down control key and click on every other hat that you have. Once you have them all selected, right click one of the selected ones, scroll down to export selection. Now what we're going to be doing is essentially going over to our desktop, clicking on our Roblox Blender folder that we created, clicking on Roblox Avatar, and we're going to title this Hats. And all you have to do is click Save, and that's done. Now make sure to go and hit Delete. The hats will then be deleted. Now you can click on the rest of your body. Make sure you right click on your username, go down, export selection, and then you can go and call this something like clothing or anything like that, or texture. Then again, click Save, and make sure it's in the Roblox Avatar folder I had you guys create. Click save, and then of course you can just go and delete it and just save studio. Next up, I'm gonna have you guys go on over to the Roblox starter rigs folder, open that bad boy up, open up rigs, And for me personally, I'm going to be using the blocky rig just because that's what I use in my thumbnails. If you want to use like the 2.0 rig or the man rig or girl rig, whatever rig you want, feel free to go and use it. It's the exact same process. So I'm going to go and click the blocky rig, just double click that bad boy, and it should open up inside of Blender 4.0. So once it opens up, you should have this character model, as you can see, with a lot of fun little rig pieces to move the arms, legs, torsos, and the head. And if any of you guys are new to Blender, I will be going over a few of the controls and how to actually move around, look and all that stuff. So if you hold down the scroll key on your mouse, you're going to be able to go and look around the actual rig itself. Now, if you want to go and actually move around, if you hold down the shift key on your keyboard and the scroll wheel key, you're going to be able to move it up and down, left and right. So let's say you zoomed in pretty close and you're like, oh, I can't see my head. Hold down the shift key and the wheel key on your mouse and look up, and bam, you can see your head. Then you can go, let go of the shift key, look around, you're like, okay, awesome. Make sure it's all proportionate. You can see where the arms are angled and stuff like that. Make sure it's all lined up. And that is really all the controls you're gonna need for this. The next thing you want to do to actually go and import your texture onto this Roblox avatar is, if anything is highlighted, make sure to click off of it so it looks blank like this. You're then going to want to go and click on one of the body parts. So this could be the chest, the head, the arm, the leg. Just make sure that the gear icon or all this orange is not selected. If it is, click off and click on the chest or something. We're then going to be going over to the top to the shading tab. So go and click on that bad boy. And if you have it selected, as you can see, you should have these rigs down below. If you hold down the scroll wheel, you'll be able to go and move it around. What we're going to be doing is going up to this top part for the main texture. Go ahead and click on the X because we're going to be creating a new one for it. The actual avatar itself should be turning black. And if it's not turning black, if you go to the top right, you should be in the third shading mode with about one that's like 25% filled in with white. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to hit open on this folder, and we're going to go to our desktop where we have the Roblox Blender folder saved. Open that up, open up the Roblox avatar, and you should have a few different texture files for your actual avatar. Feel free to select one of them, hit open image. If it doesn't look right, Control Z to undo it to open up a different one. This time we're going to be trying S-Viper 1. I'm going to hit open image. And there we go. Of course, you could go and scroll around just to make sure that everything is as it should be. If you scroll in and out, you should be able to go and zoom in and out as always. But for me, my character looks pretty all right. It has a texture in, nothing seems messed up. Awesome. What we're going to do from here is then go back to the layout tab. And now you're wondering, where's the texture? I don't see the texture. If we go to the top right, as you can see, we have the second circle selected. You want to make sure that you have the viewport shading one selected. Click on that. And there is our Roblox texture. Now, if you made it this far, the next thing we're going to want to do is import the Roblox characters hats. To do that, go to the top left to File, click on File, go down to Import, and you want to click on Wavefront OBJ. Click on that. Then, of course, go and locate your Roblox Blender folder, Roblox Avatar. One thing I do recommend is doing split by group and also split by object, just so that the hat and the hair are going to be two separate ones we can manipulate alone. And make sure you select hats.obj. This is the one you want to go and select, or whatever you named your hats. Once you have it selected, make sure you have these two options selected on the right side of the pop-up, and hit import wavefront.obj. Now this allows us to click on my hat and only move, the hat compared to maybe only moving the hair. Now, as you can see, the hats are not exactly lined up. If we look to the side, it's a bit far back. Now, what you want to do is select both the hair and the hat. So go click on the hair, hold shift, click on the hat, and you should have both highlighted. Now, if you don't know how to move them, you're then going to want to go over to the left side of the screen to click on the arrows, which is basically to move any of the items in Blender. So as you can see, we have these arrows pop up. We want to go and move to the side because it's a bit too far back, and we're going to slightly adjust it to where we see is almost fit and looks pretty much centered and how it should be. That looks good to me. Maybe I want to go and slightly move it over just so the little bit of the ends of the actual hoodie themselves is going to be lined up evenly. And for me, this looks pretty much good. And now you're wondering, how do I remove the head? So what you want to do is click off, click on the head, hit X, and hit delete. And now you basically have headless already put into it. You don't need to worry about it or anything like that. It's really nice and really simple. So the next thing we need to do is basically attach any accessory that we have, which is basically anything apart from the actual texture. So hairs, hats, swords, anything like that, that's gonna be an accessory. What you wanna do is, first of all, click on the gear icon. That's gonna select all of the movement pieces. Go to the top left, click on object mode, and you want to go down to pose mode. You then want to go and click off so it deselects anything that might have been selected. Go over to the top right and click on the handle and hold shift, click on handle 2, or any other accessory that you may have. Now once all your accessories are selected, you want to scroll in a little bit and you should see the circle around the neck area. Hold shift and click on that. You just should see a little bit of maybe a rotate one or the movement one, whichever one you have selected on the top row. What you want to do from here is hit Control P, and you want to make sure you click on bone. Now what this is going to do is basically bone any accessories you have to where the neck is. So now if I click off of everything, I'm able to go and click on the neck piece. I want to go and click on the rotate tool. I'm now able to rotate it, and the hats or any accessories are attached to wherever I rotate the neck piece. Now with that being said, you're gonna wanna go and set this up a little bit more and just keep it just like this. One thing I do recommend doing, of course, is going out of pose mode to object mode. Click off of everything, go over to the top left and hit add, scroll down to camera, and you should have a camera right here that spawns in. You then wanna go and make sure it's selected, go over to view, cameras, active camera. That's gonna put you in the perspective of the camera itself. Go back up to view, go to navigation, and scroll down to walk navigation. And this is gonna allow you to use WASD to zoom out. If you hold shift, it's gonna be like a small little bit of a quicker animation and zoom out quicker. And basically center it into the front of your Roblox avatar. And if you wanna go and change the aspect ratio of the camera, go over to the right side, go to output, and then normally what I recommend doing is changing it to 2000 by 2000. If your computer isn't able to process that fast, do 1000 by 1000 or maybe like 500 by 500. Then of course, if you want to go and move again, make sure you go to view, navigation, walk navigation, and zoom in so your character is fully in frame. Now, if you want to get out of the camera, all you have to do is hold down the scroll wheel and just look out, and there you go. Then you can deselect the camera and the camera is in position. The next thing we're going to want to go and add is basically the lights. So we're going to go to light and we're going to go to area light. And we're going to basically use the movement tool to move it out and move it to the side, move it up. And if you highlight it over the corner of the square, you're able to increase how big the square is gonna be. So I think about that is gonna be roughly the size I'm gonna want. I'm also going to Control CV it so I can move it to the opposite side as well so we get even lighting so everything's evenly lit. The next thing I'm gonna do is select both of the squares, and if we go down to the light bulb tool of the data, click on that. We're gonna be changing the shape of this from a square to an ellipse. And then we're also gonna be changing the power to about 200 to 500, depending on how far away the light is from your Roblox avatar. We're gonna do the exact same thing for this square. So make sure you're on the lighting tab, go to square, select ellipse, change the power to 200 watts. Now the one problem you might run into is that the ellipse is not a square or they're not a full circle. Select the corner and just basically drag it to make it a circle. Do the same for this one, select the corner of it, and basically just make it a circle as best as you can. It's basically, instead of having a square, the circle allows it to make a lot more smoother edges for the lighting. Now, in order to see the lighting, go to the top right and click on the fourth section for the viewport shading. Click on that. You might be in Eevee or something like that, which might be a bit easier to run. For me, I'm normally in Cycles. I'm gonna do a GPU compute just because it's a lot quicker, but it may be a little bit laggy as you guys can see, especially depending on what your device is capable of. You want to go and select on the lighting, and you should see a bit of a yellow dot here. Click on the dot and drag it to the Roblox avatar. And there you go. So we have lighting on the Roblox avatar. And as you can see, it's not too bright. So what I'm gonna do is go back to the light, and I'm gonna change it to maybe 500 watts or maybe 800 watts, depending on how far away the lighting is. Do the exact same for the other light. And as you can see, it's pretty evenly lit. It's nice and lit. But yeah, you can basically mess around with this. If it's a little bit too bright for your liking, you can always go and adjust it. So maybe 700 might be the best area for at least what my avatar is for the texture. But for me, I'm pretty happy with this. So what we're gonna do now before we go and mess with anything is we're gonna save this into a separate Blender rig so that no matter what, you can instantly open this up, and this is what you're gonna start with. So you wanna go up to File in the top left, click on it, click Save As, and then what you wanna do is go to the Roblox Blender file that you have, open that up, and what you can do is you can basically call it like whatever your avatar is. So that since this is my Cyrus avatar, I'll call it like my Cyrus rig, and I can hit Save As. That's how you go and save the entire area. So whenever you go and open up that file, you will be able to go and have this exact setup. But the number one thing is do not save it if you make any adjustments to the pose, because then the pose is gonna save and you will not start like this. You'll start with whatever pose you saved last. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go and close this. And if we go on over to the Roblox Blender one that we made, as you can see, we have the cyrusrig.blend file. Double click it, and all it's gonna do is simply open it up. and you should see the exact same thing you see here. And if you're wondering how to get the texture, go to the top right and make sure you select the third viewport shading option, and bam, there you go. Now, before we go and get into actually posing the Roblox avatar, it is really important that you actually have an idea for your Roblox thumbnail. And how I like to go about this is I'm going to be going to Photopea, and I'm going to be opening up a new project. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the width as 1920 by 1080. And for the DPI, I just like doing 300 because that's more of like a high quality one, just in case you ever want to print it out for whatever reason. Then for the background, make sure it's on transparent, and then go ahead and click create. Now, as you can see, the background is going to be locked. So what you want to do is go down to the bottom right and add a new layer. Then you can just uncheck that one or whatever. It doesn't really matter too much. You can't do anything with it since it's locked. And what I like to do is I like to go and take the brush tool and basically draw an idea for a thumbnail. Now, the idea that I'm kind of thinking of is basically the thumbnail idea for this one that I'm doing on the spot. What I'm thinking about doing is having this giant arrow that I'm basically going to be having like as a mouse thing that's going to be clicking on my Roblox avatar. So maybe it looks something like this, and maybe you have like a nice background or something like that. So maybe it's like blade balls, so we have like some like of the leaderboard stuff to like the side or something like that. Then what I'm also thinking about doing is having this cool like line effect around my Roblox avatar like he's selected. So it's like I'm creating a basically a thumbnail for a thumbnail, I guess. That's like the best way I could go and actually describe it. So basically having a background, having a giant mouse, like it's dragging my Roblox avatar or the render I created of my avatar around. And so this is my idea I have already. It doesn't need to look pretty at all. Just have a rough idea of what you want it to look like so you know what kind of pose you want to do or anything like that. Then of course, once you have it done, you go create a new layer just so you're not over that layer already. And that's basically what we're going to be doing for our thumbnail idea. Hopping back over to Blender, what you want to do is make sure you're on the third option so that it's not taking a whole lot of processing power with all the shading from the lighting. Make sure you're on the simple viewport shading tab. Third option of the circles, really simple. It runs a lot smoother for at least like trying to go and pose your Roblox avatar. In order to go and pose the Roblox avatar, make sure you deselect everything, click on the gear icon, go to the top left, click on object mode, and click on pose mode. And then of course, click off of everything just to make sure everything's deselected. But let's say we want to go and move one of the arms. Select one of the pieces and make sure you're on the rotate tab, or maybe even the move tab, depending if you want to move it up more or down more, or maybe you just want to move it out more, for whatever reason. But feel free to go and play around with this. As you can see, if I rotate it, it's going to rotate in whatever direction I choose. If I want to go and move the arm like he's kind of like holding a cup, maybe I can just go rotate it slightly. And I want to go make it look a little bit more realistic, so I slide him out more, go back over to the move tab. I'm basically wanting to make sure it looks natural here. Now I'm like, okay, does that line up in the back? Maybe not. Maybe slide it down just a little bit. Now we have a really smooth, clean arm that has a little bit of a bend in it. Now we're gonna go and do a similar thing with the other arm. Of course, make sure to go on the rotate tab, select whichever one you want to go and do first, rotate this slightly, look back over, rotate it slightly more, use the move keys to basically go and move it to where I would like it to be. And you know, maybe I think I'm looking pretty solid like that. Like this is like the render I want to go for, at least for my thumbnail. Or maybe I want to make him look like he's falling. That's actually sounds like a pretty good idea. Like he's being dragged, like he's in the falling animation for a Roblox avatar. So maybe I want to go mess with this again, make sure it's all lined up in the back. Go and rotate this again. Make sure to go use the move tool. Line it up so it's not overlapping too much, but it's still connected. And now I want to go and select the torso next. Go back to the rotate tool. And maybe it looks like he's like looking downwards like a Roblox animation would. Maybe adjust it. I don't want it to be too much. Maybe I do the head to actually get the effect a bit more just so he's not fully looking down. And then maybe I want to go move the head up just slightly just so the hats look a bit better. Now what I'm going to do with the legs is essentially the same thing. Basically just play around with everything. You don't need to copy exactly what I'm doing. There's tons of different methods. But for me, I just like doing one arm at a time, then seeing if I want to go and move the head, if I want to rotate it slightly, like he's like questioning something, you can do that as well. Really nice and simple. So I'm just gonna go play around with the legs a little bit. I normally like sliding these out just a little bit so they're not fully together. It adds a little bit more realism to it. Maybe push it forward slightly, add a little bit of a bend in the leg to the point where the foot is almost vertical to the ground. I can adjust the foot as well so it's like flat. Or maybe I want to do it so instead of being flat, maybe it's like tilted upwards because he's like falling or something like that. Go and do a similar idea for this leg as well. Tilt the foot down just ever so slightly. And now when we have it put together into our Roblox thumbnail, it's gonna look like he's being dragged around and infinitely in the falling animation. So I'm definitely for this. So now once you're satisfied with the pose you want to go and do, a big thing you want to go and do is adjust where you want your camera to go and be. And if you cannot select the camera, what you want to do is go to the top left and make sure you're in object mode. deselect everything by clicking off in a random location, click on the camera, view, camera, active camera. Then from there, you're gonna click view again, go down to navigation, walk navigation, then use WASD to basically go and move the camera around to wherever you want. Hold shift to make it go faster. Really nice and really easy. Now you can go mess around with like the angle of it, maybe play with it for being a bit low. Maybe you want it to be like a bit high or something like that. For me, I think I might go and try something similar to maybe a bit lower, something like that. Now once you have your camera position where you want it to be, hold the scroll wheel on your mouse and just move out. And then of course you could go and click on the top right and click on viewport shading or the fourth circle to see what it's gonna look like with the lighting and everything like that. Of course you could go back, click on view, cameras, active camera to see what the shading is gonna look like if you have to adjust anything. And for me, this looks solid. We could do a lot of manipulation inside of Photopea. Now the next thing we're gonna do is make sure the background is transparent. To do that, go to the right side, go down to render. And if you're on cycles, make sure you have GPU compute. Scroll down to film and click on transparent. That's gonna make the background transparent so that you can just basically drag and drop it over anything and it's just gonna have the Roblox avatar. Once you're satisfied with how everything looks and you're done with it, go up to the top left, click on render, and click on render image. Now this might take a while depending on how good your PC is. It could take a couple minutes depending on the size of the render as well. And once it looks like this, click on image, click save as. Then what you want to do is go over to the Roblox Blender folder you created, and you can go and basically call this render whatever you want. I normally like doing it in like a nice chronological order, so like render 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so on. Title it whatever you want, click save as image, and bam, you're done. You can then go hit the X again, and hit do not save, because you do not want to save this pose for your default one. So click don't save, it'll close out of it. And now if you go over to the render one, we will have the render image that we made right here as a PNG file. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna head back on over to Photopea, and we're gonna create a rough outline of what we want our thumbnail to look like. So I'm gonna go and basically turn this off because we already have an idea of what we want it to look like. We could toggle it back on if you want. Make sure you're on a new layer if you want to know how to make a new layer. Bottom right, highlight over this, click a new layer and just click it. It'll create a new layer. If you want to delete a layer, just go and click the trash can. It'll delete it. Totally fine. Now in order to go and paste in your Roblox render, go to File, hit Open, go over to the Roblox Blender folder, click on the render folder, click on the render you want to go and import, hit Open, and at the top you should see the render. Now click on the rectangle select and basically hold left click, highlight the whole thing, Control C, then go and click back on new project.psd, then Control V, and as you can see, there is our Roblox render. Now you want to go ahead and hit Control T to select everything, and then just click and drag to whatever size you want it to be. So for me, I'm thinking I'm gonna do something like around this size, maybe a little bit smaller depending on how big I want the mouse to look like. So feel free to go position it how you want. I feel like that's pretty good, so I want to go up, hit the check mark to confirm it, and bam, there we go. Now, one thing I want to show you guys how to do is, for me, I do have a file that has everything I need for Blender thumbnails. So like Photoshop effects, I could go click on that bad boy and I'm scrolling down. I'm like, okay, I want the pointing finger. I could go and open that. Now, if you're wondering how to go and get effects like this, all you literally have to do is go to Google Chrome. Maybe I want to go and have like a dotted square outline, transparent, go to images on it, and then you go and click on one of these. Now, if you drag it, you can see if it's going to be transparent or not based on like how it looks. So maybe we found this one that we like, right? You click it, and as you can see, it's fully transparent. There's no background or anything like that. So you could right click, save as, and just basically download it as an image into a little bit of a Photoshop effects folder. So you have every single effect that you would ever need. For this one, I have like a pointing finger. And as you can see, you can find like a mouse cursor. You can find a simple hand just like this one. And they're transparent, as you can see, so you can easily go and delete like that half of it or this half of it, whichever one you want to go and use. Do the exact same thing, Control C, create a new layer so it's not over my render layer, Control V, and then let's make this fairly big just so it's eye-catching. And maybe it's like clicking like right there on him just to drag him around. And maybe just looking at it, maybe I want to go and I want to flip this guy around because it feels a little off. So let's go back to the character layer. Control T to go and select everything. Right click. Let's go and flip him horizontally. So it's kind of like he's being dragged around maybe. Maybe we mess around with it just a little bit. Try to see which angle might be like the best one for us. Now what I'm thinking about doing is having like the dotted outline, because if we go back over to our original layer, basically I'm thinking about having like a dotted outline like he's being selected. And I have a dotted square that I could go and actually manipulate. Go and highlight that real quick. Control C. Control V over it. I kind of want to go and manipulate it to where I kind of want it. Now, as you can see, if I try dragging it down below, it just basically keeps the same aspect ratio. If you hold shift and you drag on one side, that allows you to go and lengthen it to that degree. So I'm gonna go basically have it right around my character, kind of like he's basically being selected. Then let me go and check something real quick. Maybe I want it to be a bit lighter on that side, so I could go click on that layer, maybe change the opacity down just a little bit to maybe something like that. And one thing I realized is that it's going over the mouse. So what we could do, just drag that layer below the mouse, and there we go. We have that, it looks like our avatar is being selected. Now I basically want to go and create a nice background for this image. So I'm going to go create a new layer below all my other layers. And I'm going to go into a Roblox game and I am going to basically just take a screenshot of what I think might look good. Now what I want to do is find an area I want to go and screenshot for the background of this thumbnail. And maybe it's cool to have this in the background for whatever the purpose I'm using is. So what I can do is maybe I want to go run my avatar down here, zoom out a whole lot. Maybe I want to go and actually be behind this so it's more centered. I'm gonna go hit escape, go to record, and take a screenshot. And do not worry about your Roblox avatar being there. It could even just be covered by everything else you have in your thumbnail already, but I will show you a method on how to go and cover it up. Now we are back in Photopea. What I'm gonna do now is go to File, Open. So basically you wanna go down to Pictures, click on Roblox, and basically select the screenshot you have right there. Hit Open. It's gonna open up in a new tab, and after you do copy and paste this over, you can go and hit the X, and just close all of these if you don't need them anymore, just to keep it nice and clean. Select the whole thing, Control C, go to the new project, make sure you're on the very bottom layer, Control V, and here we go. Now what we're gonna do is basically increase the size of this so that we don't have any of these other like GUIs or anything in the way. So maybe I want something similar to like this sizing and this like depth away. Hit the X. And as you can see, we can still see our avatar slightly behind our little bit of a mouse clicker. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna be using this lovely tool right here, the clone tool. And what we're gonna do is you can use the brackets on your keyboard to increase the size of it, but go hold down the Alt key and click, let go of it. Then go, as you go over here, you could go and actually repaint over the whole area. And of course, maybe it doesn't work perfectly just because of there's like shading and stuff like that. So maybe I want to go and try right here just to see if it works slightly more. It almost did. Let's go and select a new area again. Okay, so maybe something like that. I know you can see the like how bad it is, but the thing is, when you zoom out to being on like a mobile device, you're not gonna see that, and it looks like it's just a nice simple background. Now maybe I want to go and adjust it a bit more so that it's actually further over. But make sure you go in and basically playing around with the whole aspect ratio of it, just so you know it looks good. Now maybe you want to go and use the spot healing brush to kind of like even out everything here, just to make it blend in a little bit nicer. So what we're gonna do, highlight that whole section, let go, maybe click once or twice. And if you scroll really far out, you're not gonna know the difference. So now that we have the rough outline of what we want our thumbnail to be, we're gonna basically go and stylize it the way we want it to do, as well as add in tons of effects. So the first thing you wanna go and do is basically adjust our character and basically the whole lighting and coloring of it. So go select the layer your render is on. And what I like to do is I like to go to Image, Adjustments, Brightness / Contrast. And I like to up the brightness just a little bit, maybe between like 30 to 50. Same with the contrast. Find out, just basically mess around with it, see what you like the best. Click OK. Then I like going back to Image, Adjustments, going down to Shadows and Highlight. And basically let's go and reset all this real quick. For the highlights, I like to go and basically just decrease it a little bit. So as you can see, like the hands look a little bit like too bright. So I'm just gonna mess around with the percentages and like the points of all of these. Lower it down just a little bit so it looks like more of like a skin tone. Hit OK. Then the last thing I'm gonna do with this is click on Image, Adjustments, Vibrance. And I'm just gonna adjust the vibrance of my character just to bring out the color a bit more. As you can see, there's like black and white. This is what it was before. I don't like going around like 75 or so around that area just to make it look a lot more vibrant. And then you could go and adjust the brightness a bit more if you really wanted to. Like for me, I think that's a bit too dark for my liking. So let's go to brightness. Maybe just touch it up just a little bit. Maybe just around with the contrast as well. Hit OK. And if we go back to the right side, I have the whole history. So I could go back to like what it originally looked like to what it looks like now, which pops out and stands out a whole lot more than what I originally thought. And the hands still look a little bit white, so maybe we go back into adjustments, go down to shadows and highlight, and bring it down just a little bit to where we can actually see the color of the hands. And that looks good for me. Next, I want to go and add like a nice little bit of a black and white outline to my render. So go to the layer, right click, and click on blending options. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on a stroke. And what this does is it basically adds a black outline to it. And I normally like having mine around 8 to 10, depending on what I'm doing. Maybe 10 might be a bit better in my opinion. Okay, awesome. Then I want to define this as new, just so this is the whole default for it. Then I want to go and select inner shadow, which basically I'm going to go and change. So right now it's on multiply. I just want to go to normal, select on the color. Let's make this white. And then of course you want the opacity fully there. Then let's go and have the distance at 0. Let's change the angle to about like 117, I think. Then as we slowly increase it, as you can see, there is a nice white outline on our avatar now. And we can kind of go and play around with like the angle of where we want the white to be. Normally we like it at the corner side. And for me, that looks fairly good in my opinion. So I'm just gonna go and hit okay. And that's basically what I do fully for my Roblox avatar. Now let's move on over to the background. The background is really in shape, but we can do a few adjustments just to make it help stand out a bit more. So click on the background layer, go up to image, adjustments, brightness and contrast. Maybe we want to brighten this up just a little bit, but not a whole lot. I'm gonna hit okay there. I'm gonna go back to image, go to adjustments. Maybe we want to have the vibrance just a bit more up there. Then I'm gonna go to filter, go down to blur, and Gaussian blur. And normally I have mine around like 7 points. You can mess around with this by simply dragging it. And as you can see, it gets more and more blurry till it's just one solid color essentially. For this, I feel like that's fairly good in my opinion. Maybe I want it to be a bit more. I'm gonna hit okay. Now as I zoom out, as you can see, the background is no longer the main focus. It's slightly blurred out. And the main focus is basically what's going on in the thumbnail. So I think for me, for some reason, I don't feel like these dotted lines are really doing it. So I think I'm gonna actually go and delete that line. Then go back to my avatar, Control T. And I wanna go and actually adjust the sizing of this so that takes up a bit more of the actual thumbnail space. Then I think I might actually go and try to create a custom dotted line, I think. So I'm gonna use this tool right here. Then let's see, we don't wanna have a fill, but we do wanna have a stroke. So let's make that black. And then maybe we want it to be more like dashes. Then let's try to go and increase the points. Something like, okay, that looks a lot better actually. Maybe we wanted to make it a bit bigger just so it actually shows a bit more. Maybe we want it kind of like evenly spaced, like it kind of pops out the character just a bit more. Cause like the hands go past it maybe, so that could be just a stylistic choice. Gonna hit the check mark. Let's see, maybe we want the stroke to be white. And then what we could do from there is basically go and right click on this layer, blending options, or maybe an inner glow might be better. Maybe increase the spread just a little bit. Okay, maybe something like that. Hold on. Of course, this is more of like a stylistic choice. Now, one thing I'm kind of like critiqued about right now is that the background kind of blends in too much with that Roblox avatar and all the effects that we've been doing. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a new layer, go to File, Open. Then I'm gonna go on over to my Photoshop effects folder. And I have this vignette. And you can easily look one up with a transparent background. I'm gonna open this up, highlight the whole thing, Control C, Control V in the new layer, Control T, because it's gonna be a bit too big. So we're gonna have to downsize this just a little bit, bring it on in. I'm gonna hit check. And at least for me now, that makes it stand out so much more from the background, just having a little bit of a black outline on the very border of the thumbnail, at least for the background image. And actually looking back at this, I might add some sharpness to my Roblox avatar. So I'm gonna go to filter, go down to sharpen, then just sharpen. And so if we go back and forth, this is a little bit sharper, at least on the hair. Now, one thing I like doing specifically is adding these glowing red eyes to my Roblox avatar. So I'm gonna go highlight the whole thing, Control C. I'm going to go one above my avatar to create a new layer, Control V, Control T. I'm gonna have to downsize these quite a bit, then rotate these horizontally. Maybe adjust these ever so slightly. If you hold down the control key on the corner, you're actually able to move it inward like this. So you can actually make it look like it's a bit more, like this eye is closer compared to the right eye of it or the left eye. Maybe I want to go zoom out a little bit, make sure that they're a bit more appropriate to where they should be. I'm thinking right there looks about where they would be in my opinion. And I think position-wise, that actually looks pretty solid for where the eyes should be on my avatar with headless. I'm gonna go over and highlight the lasso tool, right click on it, go to polygonal lasso select. I'm gonna actually hide this so I can go and select every single part of the hair to basically delete the shading of the eyes. Okay, now that we have a base outline, I'm gonna hold down the Alt key to go and delete some sections that are within it. Okay, now that I have everything selected, I'm gonna show the eyes again. And all I'm gonna do is just hit delete. And now it actually looks like it's behind the hair and that my character actually has eyes. And just small stuff like that adds so much more to the thumbnail in my opinion. But even if you zoom in, it may not look exactly perfect, but as you zoom out, you don't even have to see all the small details. It's like, I know they're there. Do I have to be like that precise? Probably not, but it's just something that I enjoy doing for like the small details. So as you guys can see, the pants look a bit too bright in my opinion. And just like the front of the shirt seems a bit too faded out and not as colorful as the rest. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the left-hand side, right click on this magnifying glass and click on the burn tool. And what we're gonna do is we wanna make sure that the actual brush itself is gonna be nice and soft. So let's go and select this one with a very, very low hardness. Click off of it. Okay, so it actually does the exact same thing we're looking for, but a little bit less than maybe what we wanted. Because we don't want it too much lighter, but maybe for the pants we do just because those were they were faded out quite a bit. But if we go back, it went from this to a bit more actually colored. And if you zoom out, it looks so much better in my opinion. Maybe we also want to go and do the hands as well. It just adds so much of the color back into the actual render itself. Now, once we have the thumbnail entirely made, this is our final product. The last thing we have to go and do is save it. So go to the top left, click File, click Save As, and you want to go and click on PNG because that will create a smaller file size that actually uploads to YouTube. So click on PNG, and you can title this whatever you want. So maybe you want to title it like Roblox thumbnail. And then of course, make sure you have the width and height correct. The quality is at 100, and then just click save. And as you can see, it popped up right there. We are 100% good to go to upload it to our YouTube video. Of course, if you guys have any questions on how to do something specific, there are tons of other tutorials out there on YouTube already on how to do the small specific things. This is just how I go about creating my Roblox thumbnails. There are tons of other ways to do it to stylize it to your own way, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye bye.